Yay. Yes, that's good. That is a good thing. The thing is that we didn't get that house because lenders looked at us and said, now you're a good deal. Because we weren't. By this point, Sam was still working his way through jobs. He was not getting paid awesomely. We had 2 kids by this point, so I was barely working. I was doing a little bit of work on the side, and that was it. We were so risky. No lender would look twice at us, except that we had built a massive deposit. And then lenders could look at us and go, well, okay, we can give you that bit on top. So that was the only reason that we got our house. We've lived there for 10 and a half years now. And it's not a perfect house. It still has mint green bathrooms and all sorts of other things that we're working on. That's okay. It's a bit small now. There's 5 of us. And sometimes I think, oh my goodness, we're all in each other's faces. This is excruciating for an introvert. But you know what? I love that house. I love that house so much. And sometimes I stand in that house and I feel so overwhelmed with gratitude because that house has been such a blessing to us, like more than I could ever have imagined. It's just a house, but it means so much to me. It's the place where we've raised our family. It's the place that we've had friends over and massive conversations and parties and special moments, and it's our future. And I'm so grateful. And I know this is going to sound weird, but I also know that you know exactly what I mean. I'm so grateful for the Sam and Pauline of 13 or 14 years ago who looked at that circumstance and said, this isn't fair, but you know what? We're just going to take responsibility for this. And we're going to say, what can we do now? And when we did, the doors opened and we were able to save that money and we got that house. And I'm so grateful for us back then because now we get to live in our later and greater. And there's so much more later and greater to come from that one thing that we did. And it wasn't like we took control and went, we're going to fix this. Like we absolutely did it. Like Pastor Kev said, we absolutely did it by asking God over and over again and saying, I'm just going to give you all these yucky emotions and I'm just going to say, we're going to step into this with absolute certainty that God can make this happen. And he absolutely did. So where we are today, sometimes if you're in awesome circumstances, great. Maybe that's happened because you took responsibility and you did some things that have led to this awesomeness. And maybe you might be in circumstances where you think, this is not great. We don't have enough money, or I have an addiction, or whatever. Our marriage is not great. If that's the case, maybe it happened because of actions that you took, because the principle applies to everybody. So then we have to ask, well, what are we going to do about it? The reason sometimes that we get ourselves into a little bit of not trouble, what's the word? The reason we get ourselves into these circumstances is sometimes because we forget that the later is coming. Like we make decisions now thinking feels good now, or I can't be bothered right now. I don't feel like investing into my kids right now because I'm tired, or whatever it is. We forget that later is coming. It's why we go to the gym 5 times in January thinking I am going to get some abs, and then it doesn't happen because it takes months to get abs, and so we quit. And later is why we don't really take care of ourselves and our bodies when we're younger, because we think chronic illness, that's for old people. I can worry about that later. I'm 25. And later is why we get out our credit card and we keep buying stuff that maybe we don't need, because we forget that one day we might have a family and one income. We might need a little bit of buffer because that's so far in the future. We don't need that. So greater is why, though, we stick with it. And I want to make a point as well that sometimes we can envy what we perceive as irresponsible behaviour on other people's part. So social media is just the worst for this. We see people out looking like they're living their best life, and you're at home on a Friday night studying because you want to be a nurse, and you're like, oh man. You're playing board games with your kids because you want to sew into them, and your friends are off doing something else, and you think, man, they're being so irresponsible. Look what they're doing. They're just doing all this stuff, and I'm here being good and sticking with it and doing God's work. But the later is coming for everyone, and your reward might be amazing, and I don't know what's going to happen to them. It doesn't even matter because we don't compare, right? You just do your thing now, and the later is coming, and I hope that it's an awesome reward for you.